Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Bob Z Uncut Community Views, the podcast where we try to bring you the information via the perspective of the community, and we sure gonna keep it uncut. But it's been a while. It's been a minute for the whole summer. I know we had Miss Simone Biles and we had Naomi and everybody taking their little mental health breaks, but. Man, check on your podcasters, man. We need a break too, man. Check on your podcasters. We not okay all the time, you know. So, but we are back and we're in full force. We have some very special guests in the house today. We took a little hiatus, trying to get some technical things in order, and we're ready to go strong. We're ready to go hard. We got some elections coming up, all kind of things happening in the community. And today, our special guests are from the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice. What they're going to talk about it's really kind of like in a forum type setting. But so they've been invited here, and we're going to talk about some issues in criminal justice that affect people of color and black people particularly. I don't want to take up too much time, so I'm going to just, we have Barry Dowdy, Esquire, and Genoa Everett.
Yes, sir.
They're going to be here and talk. So, Mr. Dowdy, Esquire, tell us a little bit about what you do for the community and, you know, some things you hope for. Just say what you want.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Barry Dowdy. I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia. Graduated from Norfolk State University, a graduate of North Carolina Central School of Law, a third-generation resident of Portsmouth, Virginia. And so there are a lot of things that I do for the community. My primary one is the mentoring group that I have with my young men range from the age of 8 to 18. It's called the Sigma Beta Club. And we have, currently we'll have 22 young men throughout the Hampton Roads area that we mentor. I'm very excited about that program because we ensure that these young men of color evade the school to prison pipeline. We have a young man that has just recently started at ODU. We have 3 young men that are not only graduating from high school, but they're graduating with honors. And so we are excited to be adding to that program. And I'm so excited to be a part of an entity that is thriving within the community. And again, also I work as the legal redress director for the NAACP, where we deal with those issues that are current, that are evolving within our Hampton Roads area. And so that's just a few of the things that I do within the community. And again, like I stated, I'm excited to be here.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dowdy. Mr. Everett, tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how you are active in the community.
Okay, well, I was born and raised in Portsmouth, Virginia. Been there all my life. Had I'll say 10 and a half years with the Department of Corrections. When I left there, I was a lieutenant at the St. Brad's Correctional Center, where I served as the, often known different things like Strike Force Commander, reentry. I was a spokesperson for the reentry program as well. Offender spokesperson, let me get that correct, where I pretty much provided an avenue and a voice for the offenders there at St. Brad's to where they can add their opinions and ways that we can help them, say enhance our program.
Right.
Pretty much was one of the best programs in the state. Then I left and accepted a job at the Portsmouth Sheriff's Office for 3 years, where I served there as a lieutenant, watch commander, ERT, warrants, criminal apprehension, and that's where I met a couple of people that changed my life in different ways as far as being pro-social. That's working with MK5 Ministries, Hope Charitable Ministries. We pass out food in neighborhoods, thousands of pounds of food a week. And also two gentlemen that we have here today, where I assist them as well, help them whenever I can with the Give It Back to the Block nonprofit organizations and conglomerate felons. And I just became an advocate for the city of Portsmouth due to the crime and violence that's going on. And I just like to give people a voice where they normally wouldn't have one. And it's very near and dear to my heart, and that's what I love to do now.
Okay, great. That sounds great. One of the things that's going on, we see from time to time kind of a sprinkling of women who are at the top, or police chiefs are at the top of various agencies in this area and around the country. What do you, and I'll start with you, Mr. Everett, what do you think should be done going forward to kind of address the problem and get more women in the top positions around in different agencies?
Well, I would say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And I would say we would make a big difference if we bring people from the outside to help assist with the interviewing process. Because I've seen and I've experienced and I've witnessed things that when you have certain people in charge of the hiring process and the interviewing process, things tend to go the way they want it to go. Not saying it's right. I've participated in that myself, so I know how it goes. In order to pick better qualified staff members and chiefs of police, especially women, because they have a lot to offer, and they can do the same thing a male chief can do. We have to, I believe, taking steps into where everything is visible. Mm-hmm. Everyone's transparent with the interviewing process and what's going on, and decisions that were not made may need to be more public. So that would pretty much keep things from, a lot of things from happening in the dark, if you get what I'm saying.
Okay, sounds good. What about you, Mr. Dottie? What are your thoughts on bringing more women into as the top officers in the agencies, police chiefs and the like?
I believe that exposure is one of the biggest issues. Exposing young women to those positions, allowing them to see that they can make it to that area, that rank. A lot of times when they see the police officers, they are male, and when they have interactions with them, they are typically male. And so what we do is have to expose them, especially the young females, to greater. And then also, I think it's also a issue within the law enforcement community where they do not reach out to bring these young women or young women into the entity. It's more of like a boys club. And when they do come in, they're not accepted. And so we do play a role in that issue. And we need to be more accepting to women in that department and bringing them in, teaching them, mentoring them, things of that nature so that they can move ahead. And I think that also building them up, allowing them to see, hey, you can do this. This is something that you can do, and allowing them, again, like Brother Everett says, that, hey, sometimes that being on that board, they may already have some decisions that are already made. So we got to give them a seat at the table as well, and that's what I feel. This next question has to do with image and the improvement of the image, and I think people used to ask me, what could the police do to stop, to improve their image? And I would be like, stop killing us, period. That was my go-to, as far as when we're talking about that. But this next question has a kind of a different twist when we say, I guess, how can law enforcement improve their image in the community when few minority police officers are depicted as doing their jobs well? So we're going to start over here with you, Mr. Dowdy. Again, like you said, they need to start doing their job well. And then in addition to that, I think that there is a disconnect between the community and the law enforcement. And what happens is law enforcement develops their own community, their own network within the law enforcement realm. And I think they sometimes forget that if there was not a community, they would not have a position. And so we need to go back to the days of community policing where the individuals in the community can see that they are not adversaries but they are on their side. Not only that, what happens is we kind of mimic what we see. And if we can see more minorities in that, that will allow individuals' esteem to be boosted. So they can say, hey, I know that I can do this because Police Officer Jones did this, Police Officer Smith did this. But they have to connect with us. And I think what happens is there's a disconnect, and that disconnect causes those issues of racial profiling and things of the nature. Why? Because they don't know what's going on in the community. They don't know how we are in the community. And so I think that's one of the bigger issues is the community connection that has lost throughout the years.
Okay, what do you think, Mr. Everett?
Okay, well, I patrolled the city of Portsmouth for a year, right about a year, and I had pretty much the worst neighborhoods in the area. My experience was a little different because I would do things, interact with the community. Like I said, we with the food and everything, and buy the kids ice cream, play football, but a lot of things people didn't catch it, and you don't do it for the cameras. It is good publicity, but at the same time, you're actually told not to do certain things as far as that could actually help the image. You're told to lay low and stay out the way and don't try to shine too much because it may seem as if you're trying to
Don't
have
do it for the
another
gram.
agenda.
No.
Yeah, so minority officers, a lot of good officers out there. They're doing a great job, doing an excellent job, working with what we have to work with. But at the same time,
Hold on a second. So you're saying that minority officers are told to kind of lay low?
well,
all officers?
all officers in general, they have like a clause where certain media attention, everything of that nature. They are more lenient now. I've noticed as far as social media goes. It's a great promoter, But at the same time, we can improve the image by supporting each other, sticking together, because every law enforcement agency have those officers that are doing an excellent job, but nobody knows about it except maybe the officer next to them or the deputy next to them. So we have to promote each other better in public and in private, because the watch commander or the supervisor may say, hey, that was a great job, but nobody else will ever know. So we have to work on promoting each other in public.
Right.
And giving affirmations and actually, sending that email, hey, Officer such and such did this yesterday. I think we should give a letter of recognition or things of that nature, letting the chief know or the sheriff know that this person's doing great things and showing that,
Well, my next question, I think that there have been a lot of since George Floyd was the straw that broke the camel's back, that broke the whole camel, just broke everything. And I think that since then there have been a number of policies and things that people are advocating that they want to change. One of them has been a great hue and cry that they are saying, a lot of people in different corners. I don't know if I'm an advocate of this because I feel they need to grow a little more. But a lot of people are saying that they should lower the age to 18 so police officers so they can serve at 18 instead of, I think it's 21 now. What do you think about that?
I really don't feel too comfortable with that as far as life experience and communication skills goes. I've seen a lot of officers that have, let's just use my city, for example, Portsmouth. You can't just come to Portsmouth with no life experience and 18 years old and bad communication skills and think you're going to be successful in law enforcement, because the demographics and the areas and the type of people in Portsmouth you're going to run into that are committing crimes and that are out in the public.
Right.
A lot of these people has been doing this for a while. And if you don't know how to approach an older gentleman respectfully, or anyone respectfully, or if you want to deal with someone that's been doing time as long as they've been living or longer, you don't know how to talk to that person when you're 18. You don't know how to deal with those type of situations when you're 18. You don't have enough education or life experience in general, whether it's school or just living and experience when you're 18. So I definitely don't agree with that, because that'll put that officer and the officers around them and the citizens of that city in a bad position.
Man, you're gonna have police officers sagging and
Yeah, well, not only that, when you know, in stressful situations, when you know they may get a little trigger happy, they may get out of fear or whatever, you know.
Right.
You know, some of those these kids never been in a fight before, growing up. You know, so
it's a different generation.
yes, a different generation.
Yep. So, Mr. Barry, what do you think about the 18-year-old?
I do think that 18 is a little young for a police officer, considering what occurs and what can go through the mind of a police officer throughout the day. I don't think that they are ready. However, I think there should be something out there to mold that young man that has decided at the age of 18 that, or young woman, that has decided at the age of 18 that this is something that they want to do. We need to, instead of them saying, okay, wait to 21, there needs to be some type of program out there that will allow them to develop the skills necessary for them to be a competent police officer at the age of 21. Because we're seeing that even if they come in at 21, they may not still be mature enough in what they do to be a police officer. And I think that if they're 18, they show interest, we should develop that interest. You have to realize that as a police officer, you take the lives of yourself, but many of the community members in your hands. And if you're 18, I don't think that you're ready to take on such a responsibility at that time. And so, should they be it? No. But should there be something out there to develop their skill set? Yes, so that when they're 21, when they reach that age, they'll be ready to serve.
Well, let's segue. It brings me to our next little question, because you said, should there be something else? Yeah, it's called college. It's called a criminal justice program.
Correct.
And one of the things that I've always, and I'm a long time advocate of this, and when we get let's say we have like police officers that they don't really know the Constitution, other things.
Correct.
That they, proper police etiquette and those type of things. And one of the things that I've always been an advocate, because I've talked to some of the sheriffs and some of the police chiefs, and they say, well, we're having problems getting African American candidates. And I said, for real? Because I know about 3-4 HBCUs within an hour that every December and every May are graduating 300, 400, 500
Correct.
criminal justice graduates.
Correct.
So, if I was going to pick from a pool, I'm just thinking, if I'm going to pick from a pool of people to come as to represent the community, why not represent criminal justice, get criminal justice majors from HBCUs and other schools. But so I guess the question is like, that's one position. I mean, you have to have a degree to be a teacher. You have to have a degree to, many nurse or many, I say careers that are vital to our community. But you don't have to be degreed, or you don't have to have a degree to be a police officer. And I think that should be a requirement. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I agree. I think that having that 4-year degree teaches them the basic skills that they need to know as a police officer. But not only that, it allows them to see from the socioeconomic view, or it also allows you the biological criminal mind. And so there are certain things that they will be exposed to as far as that educational part that I think is extremely vital. But one of the issues that I see when it comes to individuals when they're leaving college is they look at that salary. And they say, look, I have student loans. I have certain things. I may have a family. I can't make $38,000 a year.
Yeah.
And not only that, you haven't shown me where I'm going to be able to progress out of this position that I am. So what there are certain things that the city or the county needs to do to attract these individuals to keep them. The teachers they get some of them get stipends. Hey, if you teach for us 3 years, we'll pay your student loans. What can the city do to attract us to? Because when we come out, we have debt. Our criminal justice majors have debt, and you look at it and say, hey, am I going to make $39,000 a year going working in the police department, or can I take my degree and go be a parole officer and make 45? They're going to become a parole officer. And so what you have to do is, you can put that extra requirement on it, but you have to be willing to pay to play. And that's going to be the number one issue is attracting these individuals that may have that debt, that may have those issues. Say, hey, look, come work for us. We'll pay your student loans off in 4 years. Of course they're going to come. Why? Because they're going to see this as being beneficial to them financially, but also being beneficial to the community.
And I agree wholeheartedly, but one thing I just want to kind of piggyback on what you're saying is that they don't even recruit. So before they can offer incentives, I've long advocated, and perhaps me and you can put this together. We say a HBCU criminal justice job fair.
Correct.
And we'll invite Virginia State, Elizabeth City, Norfolk State, Hampton. ODU can come on too. But but just to have a pool of candidates that are qualified to actually be recruited, because some people might say, well, you are trying to, even let's say with athletes, right? They say, well, they why did you go to that school? Because they recruited me.
Correct.
You know what I mean? A lot of times, they were just thinking like, I don't know, whoever wants me on their team.
Correct.
So if the police and law enforcement went out and said, hey, we want you on the team, but that's not been the case, I don't think. I think the case was like, I don't know if we want you on the team. But go ahead and share it with us.
It's very interesting what y'all was talking about. Me working in corrections and at the sheriff's office, I've noticed a lot of people are interested in it. Like you said, it's a money issue, and then it's the climate of the environment. It's a climate of the prison or the police officer, the sheriff's office, when they get there, that deters them and takes the taste out of their mouth for the career. And they tell you from the get-go, you got to do this for the fulfillment. You got to get some type of other fulfillment out of it, because the money is not going to be your fulfillment. A lot of those agencies, they do promote school. They do give you, they reimburse you for classes, but that's about it. They're more latched on the hair and the facial hair and the hairstyles now. They just want to get good officers or deputies or COs in. What I can say is the money is definitely a big, huge factor. If you can get that changed, that'll be a whole lot better, because the prisons aren't going anywhere, and everyone's short-staffed, the morale is low, everybody's getting worked down to the bone, everyone's thinking about quitting, everyone's overwhelmed, so it's definitely something we need to work on. Those were some great ideas.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and show our sponsors some love, and we'll be right back with Barry Dowdy, Esquire, and Mr. Denoa Everett. We're going to continue our conversation about community policing and all things criminal justice.
Love First Marriage Movement, where we work with couples virtually all over the world to transition from a place of pain to genuine peace and resilience from the inside out. We help them by sharing our own marital rags to marital bliss journey. Check us out at lovefirstmarriagemovement.com.
Welcome to Comedic Services, LLC. We provide supportive in-home and residential group home services in the Hampton Roads area, including Williamsburg, Franklin, Zuni, Joanno, and Southampton County. Our offices are located at 2428 Almeida Avenue, Suite 170 in Norfolk, Virginia, and at 601 North Mechanic Street in Franklin, Virginia. Comedic Services, LLC is a Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities, CARF, accredited service. Our motto is fostering a culture of service and advocacy for humanity.
And welcome back to our show. And we have a next question. It's addressing this something that we're all kind of familiar with. I'm going to start with Mr. Everett. How do you think we can fix the racial disparity that affects sentencing in the judicial system, short of having like a magic wand or something? But, tell me what your thoughts are.
I would say one thing that would help would be how we're raised at home, how to carry ourselves, to communicate, how we dress, when we show up to talk to our lawyers, and we show up to court in general, how we conduct ourselves in court. That can play a major role in the judge's decision, as well as the jury. I know a lot of times people don't really put on a suit unless they have a serious trial going on.
Don't wear the bonnet and the pajama bottom.
Yes, I've seen the judge tell people to get out of the courtroom and go change clothes, So I would say a lot of people shoot themselves in the foot that way. As far as the legal side, let's just call it what it is. A lot of crime and is being committed by minorities. Not saying we're the only ones, but it's to the point where in certain areas, certain demographics, is so overwhelming to the point where I feel like a lot of judges just don't care. They feel like I'm seeing it so much and just treat it like it's nothing because it's happening so much. It's definitely an injustice there. The thing is, who do you go to fix it? That's the problem, because it's going on everywhere. Who's going to confront the judges? Who's going to confront the lawyers? Just getting rich, and pretty much doing nothing to defend these men and women and children. So it's to the point, where does it start? It's been a problem for so long. It's been talked about for so long. But once there's a little small solution here and there, we tend to forget about it until the next big case or something else happens or it hits home and affects our household. So I would say we got to focus more on programs like the one I work for, I consult with now, is Act Now in Portsmouth. We're going in the communities, we're talking to families, gang members, all these kids out here shooting each other and shooting at each other. We're putting ourselves on the front lines to go out there and have these conversations and conduct business outside of the normal area, and to the point where we get everyone involved. That's the plan, is to get everyone involved and to show that we care enough to put ourselves out there, and hopefully it'll become contagious with law enforcement in the area, volunteers, teachers, fire department, anyone that has the time or has the dedication to go out there and be a part of a positive change in the community. So we have to start working on each other and the situation from the home front and right outside our doorsteps.
Okay, thank you very much. How about our resident attorney take it from there and tell us your thoughts on that?
How long do I have?
Yeah, I was thinking.
Okay, so let's just start with the top. Our judges. My issue when it comes to our judges, especially in the state of Virginia, is that we do not select our judges. And so what happens is the General Assembly makes a decision on where judges should go and place them. And so what happens is we have judges that are on our benches that may have residents in our city, but they don't live in our side of town. They don't know anything that has gone on the side of town where many of these individuals are committing these acts. And so what happens is there is a huge disconnect between the person that's doing the sentencing and the person that is standing before them. And what happens is they do not understand where they come from or the issues that they have been presented in life. They may get a pre-sentence report that may give a short glimpse of what goes on, but if you know that this person is from this side of town and because you've been there or you've lived there or you understand what goes on there, that plays a huge role in the sentencing of that individual. And what hurts me the most is that we do not advocate to jump in there and say, hey, you know what, I don't think these judges that are on the bench now effectively reflect the population in the city. And so what happens is we have this disconnect. So we have the haves and the have-nots. And the haves, they really don't know about the life that the have-nots have not lived, and what socioeconomic issues drove them to this life. And so the bigger issue that I see with the judges is there is no means to connect with the entities that they serve on a daily basis. I think with the attorneys, we have to learn to advocate a lot more. And then also, we can't see each client as a paycheck. We have to pour into those young men. Hey, when those young men come into my office and I see that, hey, they may not be polished like they should be, especially the ones that look like me, I take extra time to ensure that, one, they're prepared for court, that we're ready to stand before this judge, but not only that they are prepared for life. What are you going to do when you step out from in front of me? What are you going to do once your case is ended and I have successfully argued for you not to go to jail, or this case is dismissed? How can I better you? How can I assist you and bring you to where I am today? What happens is, especially in the legal community, with the small amount of brown attorneys that we have, once they're done, once we've got them, they're gone, and then we're looking for them again, because they're going to go back out and commit that same crime again, and then they're going to come back again, and we're going to have to take care of that same charge. No, what you should be doing is advocating to help them develop a life so that this will be that one time and one time only, because you've seen them, you've been through you've seen, you know where they're from, you know what they've been going through. How can you make them better? And those young men, when they step into my office, or they step into the offices that I work for, they're crying out for help. And so we have to take some responsibility in that. And then the final thing is, like Brother Everett said, the criminals, or not, I don't even want to call them criminals, the entities within our organization, our young men, our young women that are committing these crimes, we have to take some responsibility as well. If this is your third time committing that offense, and you're trying to go home, you pretty much tied my hands. And so you have to play some role in this as well. So you have to learn, hey, look, if this is a life that I have lived, or I'm currently living, I have to make some affirmative steps to change my behavior, because at the end of the day, the law is the law. And if you are considered a recidivist, or you have committed this crime 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times, at this point, it's nothing I can do, but to advocate some type of mitigation to keep you from getting the top end of the sentencing. And so I think everybody plays a role in that as well. And so, you have to do your best to put your best foot forward. And then if you're currently on bond, you're currently on bail, certain places you shouldn't be, there's certain things you shouldn't be doing. Why? Because we got to keep this appearance clean. So when you step in front of the judge, we can say, hey, he or she has been doing everything that you all asked him to do, or everything you've asked her to do, and she is a model citizen, and she's not going to commit this crime anymore. But we have to work on making sure that we do not tie the hands of our advocates, and sometimes we do that.
Okay, that's good information. So just so we're clear, you're saying we need to, drum roll please, elect the judges.
Elect the judges.
Elect the judges.
Elect the judges.
I've been screaming that from the mountaintops.
Yes.
We're the only, one of the few jurisdictions, I looked it up, I think it's like 17 states, but it's only a few states left that still appoint judges. Until you elect the judges, you're not going to have accountability.
Correct.
Okay? And so I just wanted to...
and they stay in their seats until they turn 73.
Forever, man.
Forever.
It's crazy.
So this the only thing you can do is be proactive. Catch them before they get there, or catch them while they're young.
Correct.
And y'all not gonna like this next question, but because I'm the only one I always stand by myself, and I'm gonna give away my age. I remember the 1994 crime bill. Because me and my boys was wilding. I'm not gonna say that we were super predators, but, and everybody gets mad. She called them a super. I knew a lot of super predators, It was
Yeah.
super predators. I mean, until we can, like we're talking about personal responsibility, until you can grab that mirror. I knew some, unfortunately, guys that was doing some bad stuff. And I say all of that to say, I'm kind of looking in a time warp now where I'm looking at what's going on right now. Because a lot of people think that it was like the president who brought that crime bill. That came from a community level. The church, the black church, everyone was, they would, you know, when that crime bill came out, that was written and came from our community. Unfortunately, with the mandatory sentencing and some other things, it had a lasting effect. But I'm seeing it now where we getting tired, man. We getting tired. It's like, I mean, it's every single night. Every single night. I have 2 sons, 2 grandsons, you know, and I mean, I'm like, man, don't ever leave out the house ever. Don't go nowhere. What's the little shopping thing that they deliver the food?
Instacart.
Instacart. Get Instacart. We can't leave the house ever. And so I want you guys to kind of like help me out, talk me off the cliff on this, because I'm seeing that there's going to be some legislation. There's going to be some more dire circumstances if this violence keeps up. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Everett?
Well, it's definitely a push to assist those that are willing to go out there and make themselves available to the public.
That is.
And it's a push to fund and commit to those that are willing to do what a lot of people aren't willing to do. I mean, if you're going to go to war, you might as well. If you're not going to fight with me, hand me, you know,
Right.
your vest. Hand me your helmet. You know,
Yeah.
help buy me my equipment.
That's right.
Because
That's
I'm willing
right.
to go out there and do what you're not doing. And that's not a bad thing, because everybody's not built the same. It takes a special person to sacrifice themselves and to make that commitment. And you got a lot of people behind the scenes that are pushing hard, but just because they don't fit in with the cliques, they're giving them a hard time.
Right.
You know, it was so hard for people they make it hard for people that's trying to do the right thing because they're not under their payroll or they don't kiss up to them or whatever. So we got to stop fighting each other first. That's one of the hardest things, but it's definitely going to be a push to assist those that are willing to step in and help out.
What do you think? You think it's going to be some legislation that's going to address this violence? I see where they're trying to throw money at it, like you said, Mr. Everett.
The CARES Act comes out
The CARES Act is saying, okay, well, if you want to fight the violence, then okay. But so, you know, they're also trying to, you know, say, we want to give you money to combat this stuff, and that's cool. But I'm thinking that somewhere along the line, there's going to be some sentencing issues. What do you think?
I'm quite sure there's going to be some adjustments to the sentencing guidelines, especially with violent crimes or crimes that involve guns. But the question is, how effectively are those changes going to be?
Right.
And you need to look at the reasoning behind they've made these changes, and how are they going to benefit those individuals that make those changes. Secondly, this is my issue that I'm having with not just current legislation, but in the state and federal level, but also within the local level. We need to put some bearings on how these people are voting. What's going on is, you know, they show up to our events, they show up to get our vote, they even show up after they get our vote. But have we looked at how they're voting? What do they do actually when they go and hit that check or yay or nay these referendums? And that's not just in the legislation, but that's also in the state. In the local level.
All right. Yeah,
and so
no doubt.
what's happening is, you know, we have these people. They come and they show up to our things and they say we're going to do this, but when it comes time to vote, they make extremely bad decisions. And so what we do is we need to hold them to the fire. When they show up to our events, we need to say, hey, you know what? You said you was going to do this, but you voted this way. And this is what has occurred. And then those individuals that are a little afraid to run for positions, are a little afraid to do that because I don't know if the impact. They need to get out there. Why? Because they do not realize that they represent what all of us need. But what we've done is we've given them a pass. Oh, you're our boy, or you come to the community center, or you do this and you do that. However, you do not vote. You do not vote for things that are going to benefit the entity that is affected most by. And so, again, do I think that there needs to be some tougher sentencing guidelines? I do. I think some people need to be shaken a little bit. But also, I have to realize that when you're making these decisions, you have to consider the community and how is it going to affect people that look like us. And that's that's my issue. I think we have to make a holistic approach in looking at how they're making these decisions, and then we need to make a decision on our decision makers. Are they doing the best that they can for us? And that's the way I look.
I agree, and I guess my final kind of statement is that why is everybody surprised when it's a cake? Like again, I'm old school, and I know when my mom, she had vanilla extract, some flour, some butter, some eggs. She mixed it all together. Threw a little milk in there, put it in the pans, set the oven at 350, 25 to 20, 35 minutes, whatever time it was. And when it came out, it was a cake. Won't nobody surprised because we watched her put it together. So but I'm saying now, why is everybody surprised when it's a cake? When you have poverty, when you have guns, when you have high unemployment, we have drugs, we have all of these things, the ingredients.
Poor education.
Poor
That's what I wanted
education.
to add.
Right.
I wanted to add that because I'm saying it cut you off.
No, it's okay.
A lot of the problems, especially during the pandemic, you could not arrest these juveniles, and they knew it. But these juveniles are going through so much. You have post-traumatic disorders, everything. See, we don't think about that when these kids are watching people get shot, or their family members get shot in front of them. Bullets, drive-bys every other day, sometimes 3-4 times a day. We'll be dealing with a call, and then right around the corner, these guys will start shooting. Or we're dealing with one shooting call. So it's like, how can you, I know it'll send a good message for tougher sentences, I know, but how can you really judge that, being that our children are here committing a lot of these crimes, and they have so many other underlying issues, like you just said, the situations that they're living in. Then you have the mental health situation that we're not dealing with like we should in the community, and then the lack of resources, and then the lack of parenting. So it's a whole lot built up against these children or these people out here, even the adults that are out here committing crimes. But they were raised that way as well, without corrective behavior.
Right. Well, I want to say we're about to take another break, and we're going to continue on with our next guest for our criminal justice forum. But I want to thank Brother Barry Dowdy,
Thank you for having me.
you right, and Brother Genoa Everett. I want to thank you guys for coming on.
Appreciate
Right now, we're going to pay some more bills, and we're going to come back with 2 more guests. See you in 2 and 2.
Love First Marriage Movement, where we work with couples virtually all over the world to transition from a place of pain to genuine peace and resilience from the inside out. We help them by sharing our own marital rags to marital bliss journey. Check us out at lovefirstmarriagemovement.com.
Welcome to Comedic Services, LLC. We provide supportive in-home and residential group home services in the Hampton Roads area, including Williamsburg, Franklin, Zuni, Joanno, and Southampton County. Our offices are located at 2428 Almeida Avenue, Suite 170 in Norfolk, Virginia, and at 601 North Mechanic Street in Franklin, Virginia. Comedic Services, LLC is a Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities, CARF, accredited service. Our motto is fostering a culture of service and advocacy for humanity.
Hello, and welcome back to Bob Z Uncut Community Views. Welcome back to the second half of our program. We have a couple of special guests that have come back for the second half of our show for our Criminal Justice Forum. We're doing a Criminal Justice Forum for the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice, and we have the Tidewater Chapter, and we have a couple of special guests. We have Darrell Redmond and Reggie Gatling. And I could spend a whole lot of time going over their resume and bios, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to give them the opportunity. So, Mr. Redmond, tell us who you are.
Good afternoon. My name is Darrell Redmond. I'm a man of many titles, but one purpose, and my purpose is to help my community and the people in my community. I am currently a peacemaker for the Act Now Foundation, which is based out of Portsmouth in regards to reducing gun violence in the city of Portsmouth. I'm also the founder and CEO of Give Back to the Block, and I'm also a partner of a business that's called Conglomerating Felons.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Welcome aboard the show. We have some interesting topics. And what about you, Mr. Gatling? Reggie Gatling. Tell us who Reggie Gatling is.
Good evening. My name is Reggie Gatling, community activist. I'm a member of Conglomerating Felon as well, and I have my own organization called Flood, which is Future Leaders of Our Decade. It's a high-risk lifestyle gang intervention and awareness program that's geared towards targeting kids from the ages of 8 to 24, regardless of their ethnicity and gender. And we promote cognitive development, social development, emotional intelligence, just by a process of doing individual and counseling as well as group counseling, but I'm out here to try to make a change.
Okay, all right. Well, I want to say welcome again to both of you, gentlemen. Welcome to the show, Bob Z, Uncut Community Views. Right now, we're doing a program, as we previously mentioned, about criminal justice and criminal justice reform. One of the questions I have is that do you believe that people of color have it harder? I mean, it's easy, that's kind of a low-hanging fruit. Of course we have it harder, but why do you think it is so, particularly after you have been released from incarceration? Why do you think that we have it a more difficult time? You can start with you, Mr. Ray.
First of all, I know that it's harder for people of color to find resources and jobs because, first of all, a lot of resources and jobs are negated from people of color, first and foremost anyway. Also, people of color, mostly when they come home, a lot of them don't have a foundation to come home to, so being able to not have the basic necessities of life is going to negate you from even being able to find a resource, because your first resource is shelter or foundation. And then also after going through that, with coming home now from prison, with me, I did over 20 years of imprisonment. So me coming home from prison, one of the number one things that they have out here now is technology. And to come home to a world that you left when everything was on a piece of paper to now everything is on a computer, that's the first step in negating me in order to be able to qualify for certain things, because they take you through a lot of interview processing and things like that. But to not even be able to get to the interview process, what was going to the interview process for?
Right. What about you, Mr. Gatling? Why do you feel that that people of color, particularly African American men, why do you think it's so hard for them when they are released from incarceration?
I'm going to give you a personal experience that I had. When I first came home, I was just applying for different places, just trying to find anybody that would actually give me an opportunity. So I finally got a call back for an interview. So, I try to make myself presentable, go in there. So in the process of me going in there, I run into a white guy that I was locked up with. So we get to talking, just so happened he was actually coming to apply. It was a stock position at a grocery store, but I just needed employment.
That's a job.
Go in there, sit down. Actually had the interview, which I felt like I did well in. When I leave, wish him best of luck. Never heard nothing back, so I wound up trying to get in contact with HR, but they said they already went in a different direction. And just so happened, like a few weeks later, I wound up going in that same store, and I seen him working.
Wow.
Which was just mind-blowing. And I know his qualifications probably was equal, or mine was probably even greater because I have experience doing that. But this is definitely a lot of obstacles and challenges that I face with employment just from coming home being black with a felon.
So what do you think is more difficult for, I think it's well noted, we all know that it's more difficult for us. One of my jobs that I had, I worked for the Second Chances program, and I was the employment specialist. And it was my job to get returning citizens is the term that they use now. Returning citizens to find them employment. And the difficulty that I had was, I guess, like you said, the training piece and the retraining, because, like I said, a lot of people didn't, there are no more paper apps. You can't apply no more. People was like, give me an application. And I was like, dog, but man, it's no more applications. But I'm gonna walk you through this, so, I found that was one of the things to overcome. But I think, as an employment specialist, what I was dealing with trying to find people jobs, and I've been in every single facility in the Commonwealth. I worked in there, that they weren't prepared. So we tried to create a step down and say, okay, 90 days out, what you supposed to be doing? You got to do this, X, Y, and Z. 60 days out, what you doing? 30 days out, what you doing? Before you know it, you out. But if you haven't done those things, so I think we need more programs. That's just my little 5 cents to prepare you to come out. And do you think, it was hard, another little thing, it was just hard for me because I saw us, even in the juvenile facilities, that's all I saw, man. So it was difficult. So my man was telling us that he was a CEO. I was like, man, could I come in here every day and see us?
One thing I want to say in regards to that is that some people aren't prepared to come out. But I know guys right now. I got a guy out here right now that he taught the electrical class in prison for 14 years. Came home from prison, applied for a job. First of all, they told him he had no work experience because he couldn't put it down on what he did. So they brought him in as an entry-level tech. He was in the truck with a man who'd been doing this for years and was doing more than him. But yet, you're going to continue to utilize that, saying he doesn't have the basic components that it needs to be done. From coming home from prison for somebody who was a master electrician, who done took these courses, master certified, and then come out and put him in a truck with someone who's making $35, $40 and you're making $15, is disrespectful. It's just disrespectful because the thing is, with me, I'm speaking personally from me, because if I can go adequately do the job, why does it depend on me having a work history? I had a grandfather who's never really read, write, or nothing, but he can build a whole building. So the thing is, I think a lot of times that I've been speaking with people from inside the Department of Correction now, that what they're trying to do now is transcend certain things that they're done in there to be able to utilize that as job skill or job experience. Right. Because I believe if we're going to deal with equal opportunity, we need to deal with equal opportunity.
I feel you. I feel you 100%. I guess my question is kind of like, what changes, let's say, even with your situation and your experiences, what changes? We got to get into the solution, right?
Yes.
So what changes do you believe people of color would like to see to help reduce the racial disparity? Let's go with Mr. Gatler, and then we'll come back to you.
Just a fair opportunity when it comes to equal opportunity when it comes to employment. I feel like the color of my skin shouldn't hinder me from actually to a fair chance of employment, regardless if both of us got the same credentials. Don't stereotype me and look at me because I'm black and I got tattoos, or compared to a white guy with the same tattoos or facial tattoos. And he would have a better chance than me.
Right. I mean, I get that part. I'm just trying to say, okay, let's just say you had a magic wand. So to combat those disparities, what would you like to see more blacks that are hiring, or what would you change about the system?
Could I answer that for one question? If I had a magic wand, the two things that I would do on every application is take away race and take away have you been convicted of a felon if I had a magic wand. Because if I put this application in and those two things aren't checked, you can only go on what's up there. You have no bias.
A black felon, right?
Black and felon.
Boom.
Put this application to the side if I had a magic wand.
Okay. Well, what do you feel about let's say right now with what's going on with all the violence that's happening? What do you think about, okay, because one of the great sentiments, right, particularly, I guess, is to get people, a lot of our people are saying, lock them up and throw away the key. When we hear about situations like in D.C. and even in Portsmouth, I think a little girl was killed and all of these type of things. Now, I do understand, well, we'll get into that later. What do you think about, the sentiment that a lot of people, particularly older people, are saying, man, and it was the same thing that came about with, like, back in the day, they were like, we need tougher sentencing. How do you feel about that when they're just talking about the violent crimes?
Well, first of all, what I do right now is exactly what you're talking about. I went and made a statement in the city of Portsmouth to city council and told city council that the answer to the violence in the city is me. And the reason why I say me, when I speak for me, I speak for any individual who's been through the situation I've been through. A black felon that has been incarcerated. Like I tell them now, I'm no longer a felon. I'm no longer none of that. That's a stereotype. But what I'm saying is the only way that the youth are going to start to transcend is, it's crazy because it coincides with the first thing about jobs. I told city council, I'm not saying your programs don't work. I'm not saying treatment don't work. I'm not saying their process don't work. But the people that they have in position to disperse this information to the youth first can't connect, so they're not going to get it. So utilize people like me that you think are a liability and understand that I'm an asset in regard to making the change.
Okay. What about you, Mr. Gatlin? What do you think would be, I guess to address the changing and the disparities?
I think it definitely have to be some accountability on the parents' behalf, because a lot of parents are forcing their kids to take up that role and not being held responsible. You got kids raising kids and parents trying to be friends. So we got to start within the households first.
Right. I mean, okay, what about with the violence? I mean, with the violence as far as with sentencing, do you think it should be tougher sentencing based on the violence in the street now, or how would you approach just because, I mean, basically when I was doing my job with the second chances, it was two type of people that was locked up. It was violent and non-violent. Basically, that's how we classified it. And it was two treatment plans. It was two. If you were a violent criminal, that was a different thing. So right now we're seeing a outburst of violence, and we'll get to the cause then, because I'm just talking about the effect right now. What do you think as far as sentencing? Would you advocate for tougher sentencing or no?
I wouldn't, because I think you got to take in consideration the circumstances of what actually took place. A lot of people don't look at that. They just base it off the actual crime they committed, but not fully aware of the circumstances. Not saying it's right to take another person's life, but you don't know the actual circumstances that led up to the event taking place. So if you was defending your family, or somebody been constantly sending death threats or trying to do bodily harm, you kind of put in a situation, because everybody don't believe they're going to the police.
Okay. A lot of people would say, what about personal responsibility? I mean, I got kids. I got 3 kids. I got 2 sons, a daughter, 2 grandsons, and a granddaughter. You know, and they don't, generally don't bother anyone. And if someone was to commit a violent act towards them, I'm gonna feel some type of way about it. I'm not gonna say, well, I don't think they should do 4 years after maiming or hurting. You know, I'm gonna be an advocate, and a lot of people say that, I think, until it's on them or somebody that affect their family.
I can speak personally on this. I have a cousin who was murdered 8 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want them, the person or the perpetrator of the crime, to be incarcerated? Yes. Would I want them to have a lengthy, crazy, long sentence? No. Because I understand what does one life being taken to another life, it's still the same thing to me. Yes, my cousin was murdered, but if they happen to find the person to do it and get them a life sentence, what is actually taught, what is actually learned from that situation being done? I do believe in criminal justice reform because I'm one of the ones, myself personally, that they talked about that said he wasn't going to do nothing but wind up dead or in jail for the rest of his life. But yet 2 years out of prison, I'm out here making a more effort and doing a more pushing than the people that's been out here the 20-some years I've been incarcerated. So justice reform is possible. Have I hurt people's family? Yes. Have people hurt my family? Yes. But yet, I am a living example of how you can make a transition, come out here and make a change in the world. So if we just continue to cut the head off all the snakes and never let them get out here, that's why the kids running rampant. I remember when I was younger, yeah, you had people in the street that was doing the things they did, but it was code and conduct and certain things. The guys in the hood that were doing certain things, they still made you go to school, they still made you do this, made you do that. But in the early 90s, when they came and took away all the people that was from the hood, and their kids were left with no guidance. And I believe that we need to get in and guide the kid more, be more hands-on with kids. And me, I try to be an everyday living example of how you can go in, be counted out, but come out here and become number one.
Well, I applaud you, Mr. Redmond. God ain't finished with me yet when it comes to, something like that. I got some growth. I need to, and I recognize that, but like I said, when it comes to me and mine, I just don't have it right now. And I appreciate that. But look, hey, everybody, we're gonna take a quick break because we got a great show going on. We gotta pay some bills though, so we're gonna take a break for our sponsors, and we'll be right back in 2 and 2.
Love First Marriage Movement, where we work with couples virtually all over the world to transition from a place of pain to genuine peace and resilience from the inside out. We help them by sharing our own marital rags to marital bliss journey. Check us out at lovefirstmarriagemovement.com.
Welcome to Comedic Services, LLC. We provide supportive in-home and residential group home services in the Hampton Roads area, including Williamsburg, Franklin, Zuni, Joanno, and Southampton County. Our offices are located at 2428 Almeida Avenue, Suite 170 in Norfolk, Virginia, and at 601 North Mechanic Street in Franklin, Virginia. Comedic Services, LLC is a Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities, CARF, accredited service. Our motto is fostering a culture of service and advocacy for humanity.
Well, welcome back to Bob Z Uncut Community Views. I want to thank our sponsors, and I just want you to know if you're interested in placing an ad on our podcast, just follow the information that's below on your screen, and we'll be glad to come out and do a commercial, make a commercial of your business or your organization, and come and help us support. We need your support. We don't, I don't often social media ask you guys for a whole lot, but we need your support to help make this podcast, this community views. We try to put the views out there of the community, and we want to keep it going, but we do need your support, and just in the form of just advertising your business with us, So it's a win-win. All right, so let's go back into our questions. We are back with Mr. Darrell Redmond and Mr. Reggie Gatling, and we're doing, talking about some heavy stuff, man, about the criminal justice system. This is sponsored by the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice, the Tidewater Chapter, and we're going to continue on. One of the things that we were just talking about, and I told Mr. Redmond, you got to hold on, because we're going to talk about, it's, I guess it's not being okay. One of the things, I know one of the biggest things right now is trauma-informed care, because the children, the young people, even the adults, it's trauma when we as a community are affected by this much violence. I'm going to let Mr. Redmond answer this question I'm about to hit him with, that a lot of black men, and as black men, I know we're supposed to be okay all the time. We are, considered in some parts subhuman. I gotta say it. It's facts, And so, but many black men, have mental health issues. I still got stress from Emmett Till. I got, my stress still, I'm still there. So, we do suffer from bipolar, PTSD, clinical depression. Mr. Redmond, what could be done to assist our black men while in prison and once they are released?
One of the main things that I say, and it's something that I'm pushing for now with a couple of psychologists, is for every individual prior to coming home from prison have a psychological evaluation. Because as we're aware, the people that serve our country, which I respect all my military people, and I thank them for their services, but prior to coming out of service, they're given a mental health evaluation to understand what they went through in order to help them navigate through life. And Virginia has a reentry program that says that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that you are adequately prepared to reenter society. But yet, people deal with a lot of issues while they're in there, yet that is not being addressed. So to go out inside a work environment, and yet they're telling you go work at the shipyard, but you are a person who is paranoid schizophrenia or post-traumatic stress, that's actually not allowing them to have the proper help they needed to navigate and re-enter, because they have to address their mental thing, but they get so wrapped up in saying, I need to get a job, I need to go do this. And that barrier is being negated, which is not allowing them to actually fully function inside of society. Speaking for me, I did 20-some years in prison. So to come out here, the world is a whole big open world. I know guys that prior to this when they had dreads in prison, they had to stay in a cell. So it was a 16, 17-year time frame where they weren't let out the cell but Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for an hour. And to come into a society and go out and not address that mental health issue is not doing proper justice.
I feel you on that. Mr. Gatling, what do you think? As far as the mental health issue, what do you think can be done to help improve the state of mental health when people are released from incarceration?
I definitely agree with Darrell. Like, everybody should definitely have like a psychological evaluation, especially starting in the reentry phase, because you're ready to transition out. That's when it should definitely start. And then upon your release, you should definitely undergo some type of treatment. I know for me, I definitely struggled when I first come home with just adjusting. It took me almost a year for me to actually feel like I'm free, and I did 14 years, and I ain't even do half of the time that a lot of guys have done. But it was a process. Even before I was getting ready to be released on a Monday, that whole weekend, I'm still in prison mode. So, and I never actually had no type of evaluation or nothing, because I grew up, my mama told me, don't worry about it, it's going to be all right. As black people, we push our issues to the back.
That's right.
And they start to fester and they create more. That's how the old PTSD and all of that come about, like, because it could be, like you say, a single act of trauma, or it could be said indirectly or directly affect you, and if it go untreated, then you wonder why we in the state that we in now. Because we don't believe in getting help.
Right, right. One of the things I want to talk to you about, Mr. Gatlin, like I said, I know you're way younger than me, but looking at like back in the 90s when they had, I don't know, like a tsunami, it was like a tsunami of cocaine just washed over the community, man. I'm telling you, it's like, if you won't hold on to nothing, you just got washed and swept up in it. You know, and a lot of people, you know, a lot of my friends, like I said, I won't always a podcaster. I just say that, and so you know, things happen, and you know they had these mandatory minimum sentences, and where you know, and then the term super predator came out, you know, and so how do you feel as far as now that it's looked at? Now that what is it? Opioids, you know. Now they got them opioids, and it went from being drug abuse, went from being a problem, a criminal issue to a mental health issue. So, how do you think? What do you think about that?
Talk.
I think a lot of it got to do with the actual substance itself. Like, because both of them do totally different things, one a upper, one a downer. And then a lot of the opioids out here now is not really heroin, it's fentanyl or whatever the components to make up fentanyl, so it definitely has different effect on a person mental. Then we already suffer from mental health issues within itself, because you got to be crazy anyway doing this particular drug. Something clearly can't be right if you saying it's killing people on a high scale. You still choose to use.
Man, my thing, I just want to chime in.
Sure, come on.
Crack cocaine was a black drug. Pills, our other counterparts are usually doing pills. So, crack cocaine was introduced as a black drug. Cocaine was introduced as a white recreational drug. As we look at and we do laws and guidelines and understand the statute, you were sentenced 10 times more for a piece of crack cocaine than you were powder cocaine. Yeah. And now we know for centuries and time as we go back, most things that these opioids, which is pills, that's been something that white people have been doing for a long time. So now that it's starting to come at the home front with them because it is mental, they saying, let's get our people some help. Let's not lock them up and throw away the key. But yet, when it was our families doing that, it's let's lock them up and throw away the key.
Now I agree with that in part, but this uncut, I got to keep it real with you. Crack cocaine and powder cocaine are two different drugs.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, not just a black drug and not just a white drug.
Yeah.
The level of addiction, the level of what you would do to get a next hit.
Manufacturing and all that.
I mean, it is two total. And me personally, I was so glad back in '94. I'm telling you, when they passed that bill, I was like, woo, because we was finding 4 and 5 people in the house dead.
Facts.
Stacked on top of one another over crack. And, you know, Princess Anne Road was a prom queen prostitute track. You know, young ladies, your brother back there, know what I'm saying? So I was glad, and I'm sorry that it, like, the effects of it, but I just think the disparity when we talk about it, I don't think we kind of like honest with ourselves in saying cocaine and crack is two different worlds. Now I'm with you on the opioid piece. As far as and I think what you're talking about is just the appeal of it. It's like,
exactly.
It's like, well, it's mental health, you know. And I get what you're saying. And this fentanyl is
yeah.
Man, I mean, I lost somebody last week, you know, and they just I don't even know if that was their first time trying it. So it's crazy, but I think I am pleased, and you can chime in on this, that it is being looked at I don't like that it took that to get there, but I am pleased that drug abuse is now a mental health thing. What do you think?
Yes, I totally agree with that because I believe that if when crack was out, if it was something that was helping them with the fact of addressing it, understanding that it's something that's psychologically going on. Because me, I have family members. I had a mother who was addicted to crack cocaine. Understood. She's been sober now for over 10 years, and that's a blessing, I think.
God, it's a blessing.
My higher power, but it took for her to get some counseling to get off it. So I understand that it's something that is a mental health issue, that's something that could have been addressed then. I am an advocate, like we say, we're sitting here and saying a lot of things you spoke on earlier only become relevant when it's at your doorstep.
That's facts.
Crack cocaine wasn't at the doorstep of people that weren't of color as much as it was of people of color.
That's right.
Like right now, we're talking about violence. Guns and gun violence has been running rapid that we know our whole life. This is not just a new issue.
Do you remember this, though? Check this out. It's going to trip y'all out, both of y'all. Do you remember now when the pandemic first hit? Because, I mean, honestly, I ain't like a real gun person. I mean, you got to protect yourself. But when the pandemic, you could not buy guns. You couldn't go to Bob's gun shop to buy a gun. You couldn't even buy no bullets, not even online. The white people bought all the bullets. I was just saying, and so with all of that happened with the purchase of firearms, then when the pandemic decreased,
Everybody got
you see an increase of what? Violence.
Okay.
Right. So so that's like I said earlier on the show. Why are people surprised when it's a cake? When you put eggs and butter and all that stuff and you mix it up and you got a cake, why are you surprised that when these guns sold out? Guns sold out during the pandemic.
Who bought the guns?
I think this time everybody bought the guns because I know sisters.
I understand what you're saying.
Sisters was buying
I understand.
the guns.
That's what I'm saying.
They was like, man, ain't these people acting foolish on the toilet paper. People.
A little bit off topic with it, but it's
Go
just
ahead,
so
go ahead.
ironic when we deal with it as we're addressing criminal justice. Let's just say it was Tony, Sean, Lamont, and his whole crew that went to the the Capitol and jumped that fence and went inside the White House.
Okay.
What would have happened to John, Tony, and his family?
Well, we already know. I mean,
So my thing is, that is how we continue to understand that it's not a fair justice system. When you ask, do one party have a better thing than another? Prime example.
I told you,
How can you get over a wall, get inside there without nothing?
right.
I go to D.C. a lot, and they won't even let me stick my head in the gate. A security officer came and told me, you need to step back.
Well, we know that we know
We're just keeping it real to just
we know
paint
the
them a picture.
disparities. We know the disparities, and sometimes I mean that's going to require a whole nother magic wand.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
right, yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? So we can't, but we can only affect what we can affect.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you just try to do our part. We don't have much time left. I'm Mr. Gatlin. I'm gonna let you put in the last word. Me and Mr. Redmond kind of. Do you want me to talk
No,
to
no,
them?
y'all fine.
All right, but whatever you want to talk about.
Kind of to go back with what he was saying, though, I feel like it's crazy as well because a lot of these judges that sit on these panels, they actually have stopped in the prisons that they're sentencing guys to. So I don't feel like that should be fair if this same judge who sentenced me to all this time for a conviction that he probably wouldn't have gave this guy this much time because he got stopped. It's all about money.
Right. That's it. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Bob Z Uncut Community Views, the podcast. So we promise to give it to you uncut, and we definitely going to keep it on the community level. Much love to everybody. I want to thank my guests. I want to thank Mr. Redmond, Mr. Gatlin for coming out, and we'll see you on the backside. Peace.